Hello everyone and welcome to an episode of TSA TV in which we're going to take a look at the new Google Nexus 7 Android tablet. This is made by ASUS. It's 7-inch Android tablet and Google are going to be backing it heavily. It's pitched as like a media tablet, so here it is here. It has a lot of stuff preloaded on, well, it has a bit of stuff preloaded onto it. We'll take a look at the minute. I'll bring the camera over and we'll show you the screen and stuff. When you start it up, there's like a guidebook, there's a movie on it, the Transformers Dark of the Moon, which is handy because I haven't seen that yet. And there's a Jeffrey Archer novel, which you can pretty much instantly delete because they're all terrible. So it's quite clear that they're sort of trying to push this thing as a media consumption device, and that follows through to the Play Store as well. When you go into the Play Store, it's separated. It's not just apps and games. It has books. It has a section for movies as well. We didn't get the music store, and we didn't get the magazines that they got in America. But hopefully, because they have those in America, hopefully they're just taking their time making it across the Atlantic, and the UK and Europe will get those soon. The first thing to notice, and like I say, I'll bring you over and we'll sort of try and get close up on the screen and show you some comparisons in a moment. First thing to notice, it feels really nice to hold for a start. A nice sort of textured back. That back is plastic, but it feels very slightly rubberized. So you get a bit of a grip to it, and the bezel around the screen too is a decent size to hold on to it. So it sort of eliminates, well, reduces the risk of mistakenly hitting the edges of the screen and sort of making selections or maybe turning pages in books or comics or whatever. So there, it has a small slit along the bottom here where the speakers are on, and in the bottom I think that's a micro USB, a tiny little one, and a headphone socket. That's about it really. There's volume rocker on the side, and that's the on-off switch, and then the camera in the front. There is no camera in the back, so you won't be one of those people that tries to take photographs with a tablet and looks like a complete moron. So the camera it's simply for, I suppose Google Chat allows you to do video in the Hangouts and stuff on G+, or Skype. You can get Skype for it, so you'll have other people to talk to. So let's do some size comparisons. There's my iPhone. So it's, you can see, significantly larger than an iPhone. This is a PlayStation Vita, again significantly larger. We've got a DualShock here, so that's, you can see, and this is the big one. This is my iPad. The iPad is, I think, is it 10.4 inches, 10 inches, something like that. So you can see there is an obvious size difference, and also a screen ratio difference. So the Nexus 7 is slightly, I think it's 16:9, so it's a slightly longer screen. So it fits better for widescreen movies and stuff, but maybe not quite so good for comic books. But we'll have a look in a moment and see that. So there you go, that's the size comparisons. Let's bring the camera over and we'll get it pointed down and take a look at the screen and some of the things that you can do with it, and then we'll explore gaming on the device. Yeah, let's turn it up full so we can see it. There we go. Now this is the home screen. When you first start it up, I've added a few things to this just to demonstrate some things. When you first start it up, you have the Nexus 7 guidebook, which is kind of a user manual on the device. Shows you through, talks you through everything that the thing does, all that sort of stuff. You have Transformers Dark of the Moon. That's obviously they're trying to push their video store on Google Play a little bit. So that's there just to show you what you can do. That you can connect to Google Play Store and download movies, buy and download movies. It wasn't downloaded, it wasn't on the device, it was just there as a purchase, so I've actually downloaded it since then, so that we'll be able to take a look at it working. You also get a Jeffrey Archer novel. Get rid of that, it's rubbish. Unless you happen to like Jeffrey Archer, in which case, what is wrong with you? So, and obviously again, that's just another thing to show that you can connect to the Google Play Store and you can buy books. So, there we go, that's about all of a Jeffrey Archer novel that I would be comfortable reading. swiping across, there are sort of 5 home screens that you can add widgets to. Anybody familiar with Android knows exactly what that means. Anybody not familiar with Android, that just means you can sort of add like little desktop apps that show different information or do different things. You can add them directly to your home screen so that they show up all the time. Here, this is a couple of these two are sort of preloaded. They're recommended. This one's the recommended apps. Now that picks up things to do with the apps that you've downloaded yourself. So it's kind of like the Apple Genius thing. In that it knows what you've downloaded and it recommends similar items. Now it also picks up things from Google+. So if you're a member of Google+, and when you're setting up the device you give it your Gmail password, or it's an option. So if you have a Gmail password, you put your Gmail password in there and it automatically sort of logs you into all the Google services. So Google+, YouTube, Google Drive, which is an extra thing that you have to download. So all those Google services, it will automatically log you in and then it uses those on the device. So if you're a member of Google+, this little recommended apps section also picks up things that your friends on Google+, people in your circles on Google+, have, they've +1'd. So I've had a couple of different recommendations in there from people that I follow or follow me on Google+. These are obviously just things to try and get you to go on the store and buy stuff, and that's a big part of these tablet devices or smartphone systems, is the ecosystem that it ties you into. So this is why an awful lot of people, probably myself included, are very skeptical to move away now from iOS. It's because we have spent lots of money on the iOS store and that won't work on an Android device. So I suppose first things we should do is maybe look at the media. The device is quite clearly sort of trying to push the fact that it's a media service device. So you get the books and you get the movie on there to show that sort of stuff off. You can also load up your music onto it. It's very simple. When you plug it into a Windows PC, it just shows up and you can drag and drop stuff into it. On a Mac, which is what I use generally, you have to download an extra little app that's like a data transfer thing, and then it loads and installs as a program, and you just load that program, and from then on you can drag and drop stuff into that box, and it's just as simple as on a Windows PC. So first up, I dropped some music into it, so we'll take a look at the music and that'll let us show off. It lets us show off the speaker now. I'm not sure if you can hear that. The speaker's this little strip along the bottom. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's sort of probably analogous to a cell phone, a smartphone speaker. A little bit tinny, not much bass. See, that does not sound great. Headphones in, it's fine, no problem at all. Although I'm not really sure who's going to be using something this size as an MP3 player. So there you go, that's the music working fine. We'll go back. As you can see, it continues to play, so you can go back to your home screen and go about your business doing whatever you want, and it carries on playing there. That's the notification bar, so let's drag down from the top, brings that up. From that then your media stuff shows up. This is typical Android stuff, although this is a new version of Android. So in here you'll get, on a smartphone, you get everything like you'll get your text messages and phone calls and stuff and missed calls. On here you'll get your email, you'll get anything that comes through to G+, or if you link your Twitter account to it or your Facebook account to it, it picks all that stuff up too and puts it in this bar. It also gives you easy access here to the lock rotation selector, and you can get into settings through there too. So if you pull that down and just hit the settings tab, then that takes you into your settings, nice and handy. The multitasking is fairly standard. It sort of flicks away. That's kind of reminiscent of the WebOS multitasking system. So back into music, if you can bring up sort of track lists. There are other ways. Yes, this brings up everything that's loaded on the device. So every track's loaded. I only threw a couple of albums on there. And then you can, if you go back out, turning the device onto its side, obviously changes the orientation. you can skip about, obviously, standard media controls. Kind of a cover flow thing when it's on the side like this. So this is quite like an Apple sort of look. When it's in the vertical landscape, it reverts to tiles, which is kind of like a Windows Media sort of look. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds, really. And then obviously we'll try and stop that and then come back out. So that's the music, which is all fairly standard. Books then, we have down here you can see the shortcuts that we have. That's like a folder that just has all the Google stuff in it. These, I haven't touched these are just standard. The only thing I've done is add Google Drive to that folder. These are just the Google apps, and like I say, you can get into your G Plus or your Gmail. All very standard stuff, YouTube, everything just as you would expect. And then the Chrome is the default browser on it. That works just like Chrome works anywhere, really. I found it to be maybe slightly slower to load than the iPad, although my iPad's a new iPad, so it would be the fastest one. But perhaps slightly slower to render that stuff. And also the network, I found that it doesn't hold a Wi-Fi network particularly well. Occasionally that will drop out. I don't tend to have those problems with my iPhone or my iPad, although home networks are so fiddly that it could be something to do with my network. So there you go. And then obviously Google Chrome is a tabbed browser, so we can get all sorts of brilliant, fantastic websites that you might want to look at. And then we have on the shortcuts, this is the Google Play, the reading, the novel button. That takes you into like a library that you have. The guidebook and the Jeffrey Archer novel, obviously, they come loaded on the device, so they're in there. You can get samples from the Google Play book. This is one of my favourite books. And then as you can see, that's quite a nice size, it's quite a nice feel for reading a book. And then obviously you get a few pages to sample it, and then it prompts you to buy it. I find I read a lot on my iPad, and I find sometimes it does, especially late at night if you're in bed and you're tired but you're just reading a little bit to relax before you go to sleep, sometimes it can be a little bit cumbersome, it's a little bit too big. This feels like maybe it's slightly a bit more bulky, maybe a little bit bigger than a Kindle, but fairly similar in size, certainly more similar to a Kindle than it is to an iPad. And it's quite nice to read on, to be honest. There are quite a lot of options there, so you can change the brightness, you can change the theme, so you can turn it to a night theme where it's a darker page so you don't strain your eyes. You can change the font, the text alignment, so it's not just all sorts of stuff you can change in there. So then we are across here, we have, this is obviously music, the movies. So we'll go in, we'll take a look at, see the video quality for the movies. As you can see, it's the sort of right sort of ratio for watching movies on. So should be fairly pleasant to watch movies on. That's a really crisp picture. That's the one thing I noticed, obviously coming from the iPad, has the Retina display. The Retina display, there isn't another display like that. It's the best that you can get, and this is a much lower resolution, and it is quite obviously, I will pause that now to avoid spoilers, it is quite obviously not as good as the iPad's Retina display. On the home screens, on the menus, or for text, it's not quite so crisp, but like you see there, the video there, that looked really nice and sharp and crisp, and very vivid. Now obviously the brightness is turned way up, so I expect the battery's going to drain very quickly. But yeah, I thought that looked really good. So then we'll move across to apps. There are certain things on here. To start with, into main app gallery. All the Google stuff, obviously, that's standard. Standard Android stuff, your calendar, calculator, clock, contacts, all that sort of stuff. The Google Play Store it's the Android store, so it has everything Android on it. Obviously you can see they're pushing the books and movies a little bit more now because they're getting into the tablets, and that's a much bigger thing for them. But it is essentially, it's just the Android store, and with that then means that you get all the standard apps that you would expect to find on Android, which I have always found to be not as good as the Apple App Store, in terms of things being slightly more expensive, things taking a bit longer to arrive. There's an awful lot more there seems to be an awful lot more surfaced sort of copies and fakes and stuff on here, which is a shame, but I suppose that's the price you pay for having an open system, and the other benefit to that is that people can get onto it easier and maybe get a bit more innovation out of it. So yeah, Android people know that this is just the Android store, and that's just perfectly normal and what you would expect there. So yeah, you have that wealth of apps to download. So as you can see, I've downloaded a few. I've got OnLive because obviously we want to show off what this thing's like for gaming. So I thought OnLive's an obvious one. They recently, well, not so recently perhaps, they relaunched their app so that it worked on tablets and touchscreens. Now, not everything works for a touchscreen, but they have adapted some of the control systems so that you can use it with a touchscreen. The wireless controller, the OnLive, which is supposedly a universal wireless controller, doesn't work with this. OnLive have said that they are going to patch it in, so it will eventually work. But for the moment, that controller doesn't work, so you are limited to the touchscreen stuff on this. But as you can see, OnLive, perfectly acceptable. That works, and gives you access to all your OnLive content, and it all works just as you would expect. So there's Dirt 3, which is touch. The little touch icon is ready for touch. So let's see if we can have a little go. So as you can see, touchscreens not ideal for traditional games. They have covered the screen with button overlays. That actually looks quite terrible. Obviously when the controller works, will be much preferable to this, but as things stand, that's not great. Let's see what we can... Okay. So there we go. Okay. Just keep tapping out, you get through me. Okay. Touchscreen is not ideal for this sort of thing at all, but as you can see, it works perfectly well, and it displays the game's images perfectly well. I would say that picture is a little bit washed out, as you might expect from this sort of streaming video. Now my internet connection is actually very good, and through my OnLive micro console, it's almost indistinguishable from a proper console, from my PlayStation 3 or my Xbox 360 when it runs. Occasional artifacting, and occasionally it looks a little bit, well, not occasionally, all the time, the colours are slightly more sort of faded than they would be through the PS3 or the Xbox 360. That's a bitrate thing, I think. It's generally a much better picture than it is here, but we are on a much smaller screen, so it's kind of forgivable. And also this is going through the Wi-Fi, whereas I have my home consoles. My OnLive micro console is wired to get the best connection, so perhaps that's an issue too. But as you can see, I mean, it works. And that is Dirt 3, so that's a full console gaming on... I can't find the accelerate button. Oh, there we go. That's full console gaming on a tablet device. And again, once you get your controller set up, that will be really cool. Only touchscreen's not great. So I'm even worse at rally games than usual. So yeah, there we go. OnLive works perfectly well. Nothing to complain about there. Close some of these apps over so that I don't know, I might be wrong, but having loads of apps open for multitasking just makes me think that resources are being used. Grand Theft Auto 3 as well works perfectly well. I had that on earlier, although the install process was a bit weird on Android, but it worked okay. Again, once you have a traditional controller set up with this, it's going to be Grand Theft Auto 3 on a tablet, and really you can't complain about that. So there you go, this is how it is. This is Grand Theft Auto 3, and nice speedy loading times. Don't make a liar out of me now, GTA. There we go. And it opens, we'll skip that. And here we are. That's... Now obviously, I mean, this is a tablet version of a game. This is open, this is available on the Xbox, on the iPad and on Android tablets and smartphones and stuff already. But this bigger screen and the potential to pair controllers to it, that's kind of impressive. You know, that's kind of a big deal for anybody that likes playing these kind of console games. And I know that GTA 3 obviously is an older game, it's a last generation game, but that still looks okay, and on a smaller screen like that it looks fine. There's no... Oh, yep, I am still crazy at GTA 3. So yeah, that's pretty cool. As I said, the OnLive controller doesn't work yet. The 6-axis controller, that is working with certain Android devices. There is an app that you can, there's like a free trial, or you can buy the app. Costs, I think it costs £1.07, bizarrely, that will allow you to pair an ordinary Sony 6-axis controller with the tablet, and just use it. You can map the buttons to whatever you want. That only works at the moment on rooted devices, so, and this is not rooted, this is just straight out of the box. So depending on how confident you are with that, you might not want to do that. They might develop some sort of easy system of rooting your device that's sort of as risk-free as it can be. But there will be methods of getting wireless controllers working with it. Until that point, it is micro USB, and you can get adapters. So you could plug a wired USB controller through an adapter into the micro USB socket, and for example with the Xbox 360 Windows wired controllers, that works perfectly straight away. You just plug it in and it works. So that's, you know, straight up, that's you playing video games with a traditional controller on a tablet. Now this is the 32GB version. This cost, I bought this from, to my shame, Curry's, and they were the only shop that had it in stock, so I had to drive a bit and pick one up. It was £199.99, so that's £200 for a tablet device, which you can pair your games controllers to and use it to control video games. And I mean, it's portable. You wouldn't want to be prop this up on your knee on the bus or the train or anything. That would be kind of awkward. Although playing it with touchscreen on public transport or anything like that would be fine. If you do a lot of travelling about, staying in hotel rooms and such, then I would imagine this would be very handy. Especially a lot of time hotel rooms, the Wi-Fi and stuff's not great, so there's not a lot to do if you are travelling on business or anything. You're just sort of stuck up in a room. You could prop this up at the edge of your bed, get your DualShock or your Xbox controller out of your bag and carry on. That's great. So yeah, that's really all there is to say at this point. If there's anything you would like to know about it, just leave comments on the post. I'll answer anything I can. I'm not an Android expert by any stretch of the imagination. I'm well invested into the Apple ecosystem at this point, but so far, and we are, well, I suppose we're sort of over 12 hours in to using this, experiencing this. I've spent a few hours with it. Fairly reasonably impressed. Perhaps not quite as zippy or as smooth as my iPad, but also less than half the price, which you kind of, you can't complain at that. So yeah, there we go. That's the Google Nexus 7. And now I'm going to go and mess about with some of the customization stuff and see if I can get some nice widgets on this home screen and get rid of that Jeffrey Archer book. So that was the Google Nexus 7. Hopefully you've seen a few things and learned a few things from this video. We'll maybe come back and have another look when we can get the control pads working with it. There should be a patch for that 6-axis control app thing. I would imagine to get that working. Either that or I'll have to root the thing. God knows how that works, but we'll work it out. OnLive, I think, have already said that there will be an update to their app so that their controller works in their app at least, if not across the whole device. Although it is a universal wireless controller, so we can hope. So yeah, hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you've enjoyed looking at it. If not, then maybe you've just had a good laugh, and that's okay too. Cheers!